Within the cluster, there is nothing but war. And within that war, some ships are built to conquer. Others are built to survive. And then, every once in a great while, one is built to become history. Every so often, New Eden witnesses something that reminds us why this universe is unlike any other. Rumors began spreading across the cluster, not of another Keepstar under attack and not of another coalition marching to war, but of something few capsuleers ever expect to see. A loggerhead, preparing to undock for battle. The operation was organized by the pilots of Send Dudes, alongside the independent capsuleer Lady Shu, with a single goal. Bring one of New Eden's rarest ships into the open, invite the cluster to answer the call, and let history unfold on its own. Pirate alliances, faction warfare militias, roaming gangs, and independent pilots all began converging on the system of Old Man Star, each hoping to become part of a battle that might never happen again. In more than 20 years, only 4 loggerheads had ever been destroyed. Simply seeing one on the battlefield was an event in itself. The chance to witness its destruction was almost unheard of. But this battle was woven with far more than explosions and capital ships. The moment we landed on grid and rolled the cameras, something felt off. So sit back and enjoy the cinematics as we witness one of the rarest moments in the cluster's history. This is the story of how Betrayal destroyed the 5th loggerhead of New Eden. With a target as valuable as a loggerhead, everyone knew Snuffed Out wouldn't be far behind. But the battle itself wasn't the real story. The real story was the promise that was never fulfilled. According to the plan, the loggerhead was never meant to fight alone. It already had a supporting fleet at its side, while a second group, led by a Zenitra already present on grid, had promised to unleash their own forces the moment Snuffed Out committed. That moment came, and nothing happened. Even after Snuffed stumbled into the fight, botching their initial Sino and leaving a lone force auxiliary isolated to almost certain destruction, the promised fleet never arrived. Without warning, the Zenitra slowly turned its weapons toward the Loggerhead. At first, pilots thought it was a mistake. Then another volley landed, and another. It wasn't enough to destroy the ship, but it was enough to leave its mark. Confusion spread quickly across fleet comms. Pilots demanded to know where the promised backup fleet was, and why the Zenitra was firing on the very ship it was supposed to defend. The questions were met with silence. Eventually, the command was given to destroy the Zenitra. Moments later, Snuffed Out arrived in force. By then, the outcome had already been decided. What followed wasn't the battle everyone had gathered to witness. It was an execution. Whether this was confusion, incompetence, or something far more deliberate, we can't say with certainty. But from where we stood behind the cameras, it didn't look like a failed defense. It looked like a betrayal. Regardless of how the battle unfolded, Lady Shu accomplished something very few Capsuleers ever will. She willingly placed one of New Eden's rarest ships into the line of fire, proving that the cluster's greatest stories aren't reserved for the largest alliances or the most powerful coalitions. Sometimes it's the smallest groups, driven by nothing more than a love for the universe, that leave the biggest mark on its history. For more than 20 years, only 5 Loggerheads have ever been destroyed. And we were there to witness the 5th. The ship may be gone, and the chapter of this history may be closed, but its destruction shall forever be archived for all to witness. As always, this is Warlock Industries, providing cinematic battles and somewhat credible reporting straight from the front lines. Since you've made it this far, here's a sneak peek at what's coming next. First, we'll be following the Minmatar Fleet Alliance as they once again hurl themselves into another low-sec meat grinder, proving that no matter where the fire starts, they'll happily find a way to be standing in the middle of it. After that, we'll shift our focus to local Is Primary and Bombeldo, as fleets collide and lances carve their way across the battlefield, leaving nothing but wrecks in their wake. Low-sec has been starving for destruction these past few months. And judging by the kill boards, it's finally getting its fill. And finally, after our own rather questionable decision to lose a ship in Jitta, it only seemed appropriate to cover the battle that erupted on the Undock itself a few months back. A fight so violent that traders abandoned their stations, freighters scattered, and one of New Eden's busiest trade hubs briefly resembled an evacuation zone. Before long, Concord flooded the system to restore order, which, considering what happened, was probably for the best.